We are back, and still with us, Congressman Barbara Lee and Neera Tanden, and we've been talking about what a proactive anti-poverty government agenda might look like. There are also things that the private sector can do in partnership with government to narrow the wage gap and lift millions of Americans out of poverty. Joining us to talk about that is Kathy Minahan, who is chair of the Boston Women's Workforce Council, which is leading the effort to make Boston the first city in the country to close the wage gap between men and women. And welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Maria, and congratulations on your report.
Thank you so much. What you're doing is really innovative. For most people who don't know about it, tell us what the Boston Compact is and what can other cities do to emulate it.
As you indicated, the Boston Compact is a private-public partnership aimed at making the Boston metropolitan area the best area in the United States for working women by closing the wage gap.
And how are you going to do that?
It's a simple process. The compact itself is a single sheet of paper. On the front is the mission to make Boston the best place in the U.S. for working women. A set of core beliefs, i.e. it makes sense to care about your women employees and to treat them well because they are a predominant share of the workforce. Highly educated people in Boston, young women, highly educated in Boston. The reverse side of the compact is an agreement to do three things. The first thing is recognize if you have a problem. The second thing is use a bunch of research that we've developed. We spent 2 or 3 months, a lot of time and effort pulling together all the research that's out there on what are the things that businesses can do if they see they have an issue of a wage gap nature or of a workforce nature. A whole bunch of 33 different what we call interventions. And then the third agreement is that you will report every couple of years anonymously the data about your workforce. We're trying not to make this a new data reporting requirement. We believe we can build on what companies are already collecting and reporting. We're going to do a baseline report in 2014, and in 2016 we're going to do a report that's going to show we've made progress on the wage gap.
What's interesting about this is, and this connects to the to paid family leave, to higher minimum wage, which is that local governments, municipalities have been piloting a lot of different solutions. There's higher minimum wages in a bunch of different cities. There's something like the Boston Compact. There's paid leave in California, which is one of 2 states. And there are ways in which you can try things out at the local level and get metrics for success that are very difficult to do currently in Washington, particularly.
And we see this as a major moment in time because businesses have recognized that they're investing in women and the women are not progressing in the way they want them to. So they see this as a win for them to retain their best assets. It's a win for women, and it's a win for Boston.
In the House, we have our initiative, When Women Succeed, America Succeeds.
Exactly.
It has to do with pay equity, paid family leave, also access to universal quality child care. We have to do this, and I think we can do it, both in Democrats and Republicans.
Barbara, you're from California, and paid leave has been a success there.
It's been a huge success for men and women, and it helps people move forward in terms of not only taking care of their families, being off when children are born to care for their elderly parents, but economically. People don't lose wages, and the economy continues to benefit as a result.
So I think a really critical point here, and one of the distinctions, is people in Boston, companies in Boston recognizing that their women workers are a real asset and wanting to invest in them in the long term. And one of the things you see even in the private sector where companies are adopting paid leave or providing assistance with child care and other things is seeing your workers as a long-term asset to the company and not a cost. And I think that's the big distinction we have to make over the long term, which is these are people you need to invest in because they're your human capital needs for the future, and they're actually helping you instead of always seeing these things as some kind of trade-offs on the bottom line. And I think as we do that, you'll see greater action by the private sector, but hopefully we'll see greater action by the private sector to support paid leave as a legislative item, child care as a legislative item, to level the playing field for all workers.
And let me say, one of the things that hangs over this entire conversation in this context, of course, is what Nancy was talking about, which is the fact that we have a very slack labor market. We've had very long unemployment for a very long period of time, and the relative power between people seeking jobs and people doing the hiring is quite out of skew in that environment because there is a surplus of labor.
The best labor force participants we have are women.
And let me tell you,
they're more highly educated, they are better trained, so those are the people business should be going after.
Sure, and also women constitute the majority of low-wage workers, and when you look at women of color, they're the majority of low-wage workers, and so we have to factor in a whole racial equity piece when we talk about gender equity and eliminating poverty.
Full employment and higher wages. That's not going to You can go download the Schreiber Report online, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, and your attendant. And
on Amazon.com.
And on Amazon.com. Thank you. That is this special edition of All In. I'd like to thank Maria Schreiber for being here with us tonight.